It increases your vocabulary by 26%.
God, athlete over here. I'm
I'm
not an
sorry.
athlete. I'm not an athlete. Whips out his calculator.
I'm
26%.
a closet mathlete.
Casino trip, full of chips. Wanna flip, double it.
Welcome to the Full of Chips podcast, the only chips you'll never lose, where the stakes are high, the takes are bold, and the conversations are always full of chips. With your hosts, Chris, the Dice Degen, and Craig from Old Bay Craps. You're tuned in to Full of Chips, the podcast where we dive into our own experiences into the world of gambling and share stories straight from the casino floor. Whether you're a recreational gambler, a seasoned pro, or just curious what the buzz is all about, you're in the right place. Each week, we break down the games, talk to the experts, and bring you tips that could tilt the odds in your favor. So grab your lucky charm, stack your chips, and let's roll into today's episode.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 18 of the Full of Chips podcast, the only chips you never lose, with your host, Chris the Dice Degen, and Craig from Old Bay Craps. Craig, how are we today?
You know, it is we're nearing mid-November already. That means there's only about 7 weeks left of the year till 2026. Ooh, we're coming up on 4 years playing craps in February for me, but I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling thankful today because let's shout out Happy Veterans Day. Hopefully everybody thanked the veteran. And especially include first responders in that. They don't think they get as much love as they should, but they're awesome. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you. And for the folks at home, we are reporting this on Veterans Day. Obviously, this is not being released on Veterans Day, but we're recording on Veterans Day. So we just want to re-thank the veterans. And also, you don't have to wait for a single day every single year to thank a veteran. All right. You can thank a
Absolutely.
vet every single day of the year. So just because it's Veterans Day doesn't mean that's the only day you get to thank a veteran. All right. So I challenge all of our listeners and the followers of the Full of Chess podcast to thank a veteran on all days, not just on Veterans Day, because they do deserve a thank you, a massive thank you. Just the words thank you aren't enough, but it is a step in the right direction. But you don't know how much that can really impact them and really make a difference for them. So definitely share your appreciation with them. And to all the veterans, thank you. And to all of your families, we thank you as well, because the families are not thanked enough as well. So I want to make sure we thank the families of the veterans as well as the veterans.
Love it. Love it. We have a heavy list of things to talk about in this episode. We just came off an episode where we talked about bet progression, but we're going to get into a little bit of regression, which not enough people do, including me, including DGen, 100% of the time when we know we should, especially when we feel a table's going south. But we're going to get into that just a second because I know that you're all waiting for it and we haven't said it yet, which is, Chris, what are you drinking?
What are we drinking? So first, of course, H2O in a massive jug the size of my freaking head.
Nothing. Everybody loves
'Cause
massive jug.
you gotta stay hydrated. All right, you gotta stay hydrated is key. The second thing I am drinking in my bird's cup. Interesting game
Oh,
last night. I will leave it at that. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm referencing the Packers game. Interesting game last night. But in here, I have something interesting. First time I'm trying it. I told
oh,
you about it. I don't know, maybe last week or something.
I think you did. Yeah.
Yeah. So for anyone who lives in the Philadelphia area or in the greater Philadelphia area, let's say, there's a sports talk show, WIP, 94 WIP. It's on in my car all the time because DGen has nothing better to do than when he's driving to listen to other people talk. I do listen to music, but I listen to people talk. But anyway, Hugh Douglas, former Eagle, always talks about Jack Daniel's Blackberry. So what did DGen do? DGen went and bought some Jack Daniel's Blackberry, and I mixed it with some Diet Coke today. He recommends it with lemonade, which I will
Oh,
try. The only thing is DGen doesn't keep lemonade in the house. Really, it's like I have to go buy that specifically. and I didn't go buy that specifically. So I had Diet Coke. So Blackberry Jack Daniels and Diet Coke.
Which,
What
if
are
you
you
watched
drinking?
last episode, DGen probably drank the rest of the lemonade that he had with the vodka. So there you go. All right.
Yeah.
I think I was telling Chris off air that I think I found my drink. Like if OBC goes to a bar, this is what I'm getting. And it is a Crown and Coke. Obviously, not all bars, as we were discussing, has Dr. Pepper, which would be a great choice too. But we'll go with the Crown and Coke. Mm-mm.
Tasty, tasty. I think we need to get you just a crown. You can just wear the crown during the episodes.
You
What do you
know, I
think?
do have 6 crowns if they ever bring Friday Night Fights back. So
There you go. Talk that smack. Talk that smack. The 6-time
6
champion. I
time.
ran out of fingers on this hand. Gotta go to this hand. 6th time.
That's right.
Anyway, yeah, those are interesting. I like those. They should come back. They should come back.
I
But
miss them. I miss being on there and miss being the box guy and also the dealer. And yeah, I miss that. Maybe that
yeah,
comes back. Maybe.
maybe that comes back when I feel like getting my nerves in my back pinched every once in a while, because dealing for that was miserable. But it was for the good of the entertainment.
I will say that, Chris and I don't really promote our own channels on this one. But all I will say is loyal listeners to Full of Chips podcasts, and you can reach us at fullofchipspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if anyone misses OBC and some videos. I've been thinking about it. I don't know if I want to do it. I still have all the cameras set up that I can do it. Obviously, I have half a table now, so, it is possible, but I need to know that people want to see it, because if nobody wants to see it, I'll just stay kosher where I am, because this is enough for me already. I love doing this. The podcast is a small dream of mine, was to do a podcast, and here I am with the great Dice Degen, and we're doing it. So
We're doing it. We want them back. We want them back. We want them back. And all I know is now people who are listening are chanting along with us, as if people
there you
can
go.
hear them. But we hear you, all right? We at Full of Chips, in our heart of hearts, hear you chanting back with me. But yeah, no, just make sure you don't take up too much time, because DJ needs you on the
I know.
podcast.
And believe
That's
me,
funny. I actually got an email today.
oh yeah,
I got an
great.
email today. Not of the Full of Chips email, my
Oh,
email. Um, asking me where have I been, and why am I not putting out videos anymore? And yeah, I got another one recently too, which I did respond to. The where I've been one, I don't know, it came across kind of like, I don't know. I didn't enjoy the tone of the email. And no, Joe, if you're listening, this is not your email. I answered your email. I appreciated your email. This email is from a different individual. Yeah, it was, I don't know, a little like standoffish. I don't know. I maybe it's just I'm reading it wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too far into it. I don't know.
well,
But
here's an option. The first season, because there will be more than one season. The first season of Full of Chips may end so that we have a hiatus of like a month or so to do your madness tournament, which I love. That'll be our hiatus, and then we'll come back for season 2.
or we just keep it rolling. We'll
Yeah.
find out what
Or we
happens.
just say fuck it.
Just
We can do everything. Chris doesn't mind being up 24/7. He'll be
Chris
editing
is
at
up
night.
24/7
He'll be
anyway.
he'll be designing the tournament in the morning, editing it Full of Chips podcast at night, and all good, all good.
Yeah, no, we'll see what happens. But anyway, for anyone who doesn't know, that's a craps tournament, and we're going to talk about craps today. All right. As Craig said, we're going to talk some regression. We're going to talk some electronic games. And we're just going to scratch the surface on electronic games, because we can really go into a plethora of information about those games. But first, let's talk about, as you mentioned earlier, right? Something that not enough people do, right? Which is regressing. And
Uh-huh.
this is craps related, right? But you can really apply it to any game in the casino, right? You can apply it to blackjack, you can apply it to baccarat, you can apply it to other games. Poker, not so much, but like craps is probably the best example of this. Obviously, you can drop your bets on other games, but craps seems to be the most prevalent game, let's say, with regression available to you should you want to do it. And most people should want to regress. Wouldn't you agree, Craig?
I would. And, I don't think a lot of people, we're not talking about you'll see more regression up front versus more regression on the back end. Because normally, if you're raking in the money, a lot of times you're no stop. You just keep on pressing, which we talked about last week, but some people will regress. I am the kind of person that if I'm fortunate enough to be on a long roll where we're making money, I will at some point, if I get a feeling of like whatever, I will regress down to minimum or regress down to just the 6 and 8 and just rack in as much as I can. Normally that happens when a point is made. That's usually a good decision maker time, is when a point's made to rethink about your bets that you have out there and the exposure. But normally, regression betting is more along the lines of, you're grabbing larger bets for early profits. So you regress early, but you're going out there with a high exposure, very temporarily quick. Whether you're going 330 on inside or 640 across, you're taking one hit. We know some people from other podcasts who take 2 rolls and then it's immediate regression. And you either live with that and live with, okay, I made some money and now my bets are covered, or you're at least doing it for a few hits and then regressing. But again, that's leaving you exposed a little bit longer than you'd probably like. But yeah, so it's just a disciplined way to play, and probably a better way, because it does take discipline to regress like that. And it takes a lot of discipline, to go out there. It takes a lot of balls to go out there heavy, Chris. I don't know if
Yep.
what's the heaviest you've ever gone out there and then done a regression?
I have gone 640 across once.
Wow. Yeah, that's heavy.
Yeah. It was bold. It worked, luckily. But that was also younger, less disciplined, more easily to tilt degen. So yeah, that's why I did that. But you made a great point. That, be honest, I wasn't even really thinking about it until you made the point. Where you said the regression in the beginning, a lot of people do but they don't do it a lot throughout like a roll, let's say, or anything. And I wasn't even thinking about it, right? But like, I'm very similar in the way where I regress, especially when a point's being hit. So like in your example, right? I like to go out there with whatever I'm playing, regress, make sure I'm covered. And then, then I get more aggressive, then I press, things along those lines. Now, I will also regress mid roll and do other things like that. But I didn't even think about it until you said it, where I tend to do it a lot when a point's hit, right? So like, and people may say, oh, you're just being scared because scared money don't make money. Well, you're right, technically speaking, but I don't have a problem regressing. But I like to the reason I do it, and it's subconscious at this point, which is why I wasn't even thinking about it, which is something that Coach Parker talks a lot about, who Ian talked a lot about, and is a featured guest quite often on the Casino Tears podcast, where it's a disruption in game flow. So when a point's hit, right, as we've said on this podcast multiple times, it's basically you're playing multiple games in one when you're playing craps. When you have that come out roll, it's like a whole separate game. So when that occurs, I do tend to actually pull bets down, provided I'm at a high enough level that I see fit. So like if I'm, slightly pressed up, you won't see me do it. But if I've taken quite a few hits and I have my bets pressed up at a pretty good clip, I will regress after a point is hit because of that disruption in flow. Which is weird because I'm not a big like flow person on the table.
Yeah.
But I would never claim to be, I guess. But then if I start breaking down my game, I'm definitely flow oriented, which is funny. But yeah, no, it's a great point. With a lot of people tend to regress in the beginning and then don't regress after that initial regression.
Well, what's interesting is, and I've done this more in practice, really, but I think I've done it on live shows as well on the channel. Is I use the points that are made as markers for when to regress. And so for me, I find it a fun challenge to see how much I can get my bets progressed between points. Now, obviously, you have to have points being made. We've been on enough sessions of roles where people have made multiple points. We talked about Lou, who we may have as an interviewee at some point, who's known for making 4 point fire bets. So we know he can make points, but it's people like that and people who shoot that way. And I have not been fortunate to have great roles like that all the time. That it seems Lou has more often than not because he's a practice shooter. Is using the in between as like a little challenge to myself to see how much can I get that 6 or 8 up? Can I get it to 180 and rack 210? Or can I get it all the way to 300? And then if a point is made, I'm like, you know what? I got them up to 300. They didn't hit. I'm taking them down, or I'm going back to base. You don't find enough people that do that. I don't think they'd have that kind of, it takes discipline.
It definitely does. I know like a couple examples where I do it, right? So I said I do it on the point, and then um the G Money special, which for folks who don't know at home, it's on the 5 and 9 on the craps table. $40 5 and 9. It hits, it pays 56. You drop $4, go to 100. And then when that hits, it pays 140 if it hits. Like that is one of my favorite regressions in all of craps because I play it at the base level all the time. I don't actually press that up that much, which some people fault me for, but I love how clean it is to go from 40 to 100, pays 140. The 40 is there. I take 200 back to the rack and I leave the 40 on there and I'll try to run it again. Now, could I go higher than that? Of course, but I don't really want to. So that's one of my favorite regressions. Another point too, because I know I said you could do it in other games. Um, with blackjack, you'll see me regress when I push on a hand when I'm pressed up. So on my normal betting pattern, when I start pressing up my bets and stuff, um, when I push on a hand that's pressed up, I will regress all the way back down to base when I push. So that's one instance of where I do it on blackjack as well. Which I know a lot of people would be like, "Oh, it's a push. You just run it again." Not me. When I push, I don't like it. So I drop back down to base and I'll rerun it from there. Has it cost me money in the past? Sure. If I actually detailed out every single session, it's probably saved me money.
I've actually laddered up a push in blackjack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I when I get a push, I ladder up by a unit.
Okay. There you go.
In craps, and that was some interesting points you made, um, where I've done this on a 6/8. So I have done the drop 3, go to 42, hits collect to 50, next go to 90. Sometimes I'll teeter between if the 90 hits, I'll just collect, or if let's say I've had earlier success before that started happening with the 6/8. If I get to 90 and I've already got plenty of money that I've made in the rack, I will go for the 180 to go to 210 to go back down to 90 and rack three blacks. So that's
Nice.
an awesome. If you're fortunate enough to do that, that's one of the most awesomest progression or regressions I've ever encountered and have ever done. Now I've never done it live. I'll be honest. I have gotten a bet up to 180, but it didn't hit. But I've done it here, probably on a live. Um, Definitely, I know I've done it in practice. Um, but yeah, so I guess, Chris, probably the easiest example we can tell folks is, let's say you do 110 inside, you're on a $5 table, you do 110 inside, one hidden down, right? We've all heard the one hidden down strategies. So 110
Yep.
inside, one hit, you get 35, and then you go all the way down to 22 inside. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a really nice regression, and it doesn't go. I mean, honestly, going down to, I find it so hard to go down to 22 inside. I know I would probably go down to 66 inside. I
I
just have
I
a hard
actually
time.
can't play. I can't play at the $5 level. It's really weird.
Even
When
the $10
people like
level.
talk,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard. Like, the $10 level is a little bit easier because my local's a $10 most times. So like it's available to me if I want it. But like a $5 table, I don't know how to play it at a $5 level. And I mean, I know you've shared the story too before where when you came to Parks with me, like we were playing that table like it was a quarter table and it was
Right.
I think it was a $10 table. But
It probably
you and I
was,
were
yeah.
playing, you and I were playing religiously $15 level or quarter level without even like thinking about it because we're just so used to it. But yeah, to me, like a $5 table, like it's really hard for me to play at that level. And I'm not saying because I'm so loaded that like it just no, that's not what I'm saying. All right. It's just the moves on a $5 table are so foreign to me because I don't play at that level ever because it's not available to me unless I'm playing on an electronic game, which we'll get into later. But even on the electronic game, I find myself playing at a minimum $10 level on a lot of things. So it's interesting to think about, but you made a good point there with the one hit regression. You know, there's a lot of different types of regression. The one hit, like Craig said, personally, I'm a fan of the two hit regression. Um, Especially playing at the levels that I play and the tables that we play. I would
Yeah.
say that, you know, we're more predisposed to do a two hit takedown as opposed to a one hit regression. You know, for example, right, you're playing on a $15 table, your one hit regression would need to be at that 640 level across. So you get paid 105 minimum and then drop it down, right? Or sorry, 140 minimum, drop it down to 96, as opposed to, you know, doing a two hit regression on like a 110 level to then get to like 66 inside or 64 across or something like that. So I'm a fan of the two hit regression. That's typically what I am playing if I am doing a regression like that. But ultimately it's up to the player, right? What's your risk versus your reward? What's your appetite for risk? All that kind of stuff.
No, and the 6 and 8 for me, because I did this during Crash for the Cure when we played. You put yourself out. You always, obviously you're putting yourself out there at risk for that one hit and down or that two hits and down. And it's the risk that you take on that PSO that just fucks you. But I like actually going 60 on the 6-8. One hit wins you 70, and then going to 66 inside.
Yeah.
Granted, you only rack $4 profit, but more often than not, I'm taking that $4 over to the hard ways for dollar hard
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
So I'm using
Yeah.
the $70, but I didn't pay for it. It was
Mhm.
it wasn't my money. So whatever happens to it happens to it. But that's I think that's one of my favorite to play. I have done the 110 inside down to 44 inside when it's a $10 table. I just can't play $10 table. I can't play it
Yeah.
at a
It's
$10
hard.
level. I can't.
It's really hard, like to make money at that level, to be honest with you. Now, we're not talking about, you know, the great rolls that you see. Like if somebody has a 30, 40 plus roller, right? You can make money at any level. Okay. I'm not saying like those rolls, but like if you're playing at a $10 table and you're expecting average rolls, it's going to be really hard to make a ton of money at that $10 level. The other reason I struggle to play at that $10 level is we've talked about it many times on this podcast where like we both like to get in, get up, and get out. I'd rather risk a little bit more money to limit my time at the table to get up as opposed to staying longer at the table, betting at a lower level to try to hit that same profit goal, right? Because we all know time is your enemy, whether you're playing, it doesn't matter what game you're playing. Time at the tables is going to be your enemy, right? So being at that lower level automatically implies that you're going to be at the table for a longer period of time. Now, I'm not telling you to go play beyond your means, but for us, right, it's hard for us to play at that level for the sole purpose that I'm not trying to stay at the table that long. Now, if I'm trying to stay at the table for a long time, yeah, you'll see me play minimums. Why? I'm trying to stay at the table for a long time.
Right.
And I'm really there for the social aspect of things more than anything. So my bets are different. My style of pressing is a little bit different. Like it's a different game in my head. Whereas like if I'm going by myself trying to win some money, like I'd rather play at a higher level to then limit my time at the table, try to maximize my efficiency at the table. And yes, I know it can make me lose quicker. I'm very well aware of it. I've lost plenty. I know what it feels like, okay? I don't need you like momming me over the shoulder telling me, but you could lose more. I'm aware. But I can also win more and quicker.
But here's the thing. I have played long enough to lose enough to know that A, scared money don't make money. I'm tired of having FOMO. And if I'm
Mhm.
losing the $300 to $500 buy-in anyway, why not do a press and regress or some other kind of regression strategy? Because the idea is to start big, then shrink. The goal is to lock in profit early and then play with house money. And the reason it works is because your first hit pays for you to cover your bets on the next roll. If we're talking 4 to
Yep.
6 rolls, and we've heard from the athletes that it's 33% of the time is when the PSO happens. Well, 66% of the time means you're making money. So stop
Yeah.
thinking negatively and start thinking positively that you're not always going to see. Yes. Do you see a bunch of PSOs? Yes. Is that reading the table? Yes. Are you adjusting your bets because you saw it? That's reading the table. Yes. But that doesn't mean it always happens. You could have a string of shooters around the table who don't get past 10 rolls, but they're all
Yep.
getting between 3 and 9 rolls, which means you're at least getting that first hit that pays for everything, and you go from there. That's the beauty of
Yep.
this, of regressing and regression in general, is that you're putting money out there for that exposure. 33% of the time you're going to lose it off the bat, but 66%
Mhm.
of the time you're going to hit that one hit and down, or even 2 hits and down like you like to do, and then you regress. And then you don't have to, you're stress free. Then it's like, well,
Yep.
how do you want to press? Do you want to collect or press? It's up to you. But at least you A, went there. B, you're having fun at that point because everything's paid for, even if you only have a little bit of profit in your rack. I'd rather have a little profit in my rack than have nothing in my rack. So, I mean, I don't know what else there is to say about regression. It's definitely a psychological thing playing with profit, but you know, obviously PSOs hurt everybody. It does happen, but if you're like me and like you were losing too much because you're just afraid to put it out there, and then every time you find the balls to put it out there and it hits, it's such a great feeling because then you're like, great, now I can play for free because the 66 insides paid for.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's I feel like a lot of people have a negative view on the regression because if you're willing to go out there, then just leave it out there. It's like I'm willing to go out there for a certain amount of time, right? Like I'm not willing to go out there and just get blasted. Right? I'm
Yeah.
willing to go out there and, put it at risk, yes, but sensible risk. And yeah, I know the PSO happens and I know I may not get that hit, but that's a risk that I'm willing to take. And the regression allows me to protect my profits, right? By going to a level that is paid for. I locked up the money that I had out there. What I'm playing with is what I want. Now, then I can go get a little bit more aggressive, maybe, or but it is like you said, it's that emotional and psychological like discipline almost that I know the money that's out there is not going to hurt me because it's one money. Yes, it's my money, but it's the house's money, really, because that's what they paid me, right? So I'm going out there and now I can do what I want with it. And I know people are going to be like, it's not the house's money, it's your money. Well, yeah, it is my money. Everything's my money on the table that is mine, right? But I want to be playing with bets that are paid for by the casino. I don't want to be playing with money that I am paying for.
I think the reason why we do it, we like that we do it, is because it's like a safety feature, right? Um,
Hmm.
it's the opposite of pressing, but you know what? At least you're making a little bit of profit. It's not flashy, it's
Yeah.
not flashy, but you know what? It's effective. Imagine if you went around the table of 8 shooters, and let's say half of them you made good money, and the other half were either PSO or it was just a short roll, and maybe you had enough to pay for your bets, but nothing ever happened. To me, it's a stupid theory. It's a theory of mine. I have no proof. I have no analysis. But to me, it takes 2 shooters to break even. One shooter to lose your money and one shooter to get it back.
There you go.
But if you don't go out
Math
there,
according to Craig.
that's
You are a mathlete. You
there you
are a
go.
mathlete.
Math according to me. Uh, but you got to have the cojones to go out there. That's the thing. And I think we're
Yeah.
finding that people that you and I have talked to who maybe had losing sessions for so many years and decided that they wanted to win more, they knew that they had to go out there with a little bit more risk, but they didn't have to stay out there,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, and there's a difference too, like you said, right, about staying out there, right? So like I'll use the 640 example because it's nice and clean, right? You go out there for 640, first hit pays me 140. If you hit a 4 and 10, it pays more, right? 100 minus the VIG. Okay, I get that. All right, now if I turn that 140, I'm going to use 140 because it's the lowest payout I'm going to get on that 640 across, and I go 96 across, right? That 96 across is stress free, and I have $44 in the rack. Okay. Now, if you stay out there for the 640, yes, I know you can collect more with your bets up higher. However, those short rolls in that exact example that you were talking about, right, where you regress, but you didn't get anything more out of it. Why didn't you get any more? Because it threw a 7. Okay. That 640 to lose hurts a lot more than losing that 96 that was paid for. So
Yeah.
that's why a lot of people like the concept of regressing. And yes, if you have the stones to go out there 640, it doesn't mean you have to leave it out there. And if people are telling you that, oh, well, you should be leaving it out there because you want to go out there and do it once, let me tell you something. They're probably degenerate and they probably just want to see you try to win a ton of money, and you're going to probably lose a lot more than you're going to win, because that's what happens. If you're praying for that God roll every single time, right? We see it on social media all the time, on YouTube all the time, where these guys are down thousands and they blast across for thousands more and they make it back. Yes, great job. I'll give you a clap for it, right? The problem is that if you didn't have that role that you had that made it back, you would have been down way worse than you actually were. So the regression piece helps you to not get down as far if you can get through the regression. Again, you have to get that hit or 2 hits in order to be able to regress. But you're going to get those hits more often than you're going to get the 6 or 7 hits that you need to pay for your initial starting bet all the way across.
Absolutely. And the best regression is to play a table that has 5 minimum action. What kind
Yeah.
of tables have 5 minimum action, Chris?
All the electronic games,
All the electronic games.
all the electronic games. Now we're not gonna get into it like everything about the electronic games. Stay tuned for maybe the next episode where we'll just talk all ETGs. But just the concept here, because we're talking about regressing, right? And the table minimums and things like that. So those electronic games are going to be the tables where you're going to have those lower minimums. And what are those electronic games we're talking about? We're talking about the bubble craps, the roll to win tables, the stadium craps tables. And if you are in a state where you can play the ones on your phone, those will be the ones that are going to be those low level minimums that you can play electronically.
I am not. I am not in a state where you can play that online.
Probably better for you.
Probably. Probably very, very good that I'm not in one of those states.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? We mentioned roll to win, bubble craps, and stadium craps. Obviously, there's a difference between all three. You know, they're either electronic or they're hybrid versions of traditional craps that offer just a unique, mix of automation, player interaction, and just a different atmosphere. And they are really, I'd say all three are really different from each other in what they offer. Maybe not how you play, but how the dice are rolled or not rolled, or if they're popped, like in a bubble craps machine. But let's break down a little bit, maybe what the three are. And let's start with. Now I've only seen this like a few because I've only seen you play it once. I've only played it once. I'm terrible at it. I don't like it, and that's roll to win.
Oh, roll to win. Yeah. So, the roll to win and stadium craps are similar, but they're a little bit different. So we'll break those down. But the roll to win table is basically a small version of an actual craps table. And it's very similar vibe to a craps table, like a traditional craps table, with the exception that the surface that you're playing on is different and there's no actual chips on the table. Everything is done at a kiosk or a screen in front of you, but you are still standing around the table as you would a traditional craps table, let's say, right? You still shoot the dice just like you would shoot them on a regular craps table, but different surface and usually different minimums, right? That's why we're talking about it with the regression stuff, because the minimums on most of these electronic games are going to be smaller. Roll to wins, you'll probably find around $5 minimum. Sometimes they're at 10, depending on the casino you're at, but typically they're around a $5 minimum. And they're very similar to craps with the traditional craps, with the exception of, again, the surface, and you place your bets on a screen instead of actual chips.
Right. And they have it's usually an LED table, right? So where you can see an actual craps layout on the roll to win. I'm not sure, are all of them like that, or are there some roll to win that are just a blank screen as the table? And you only have what's on the screen, but it tells you what rolled, right? But are all
Yeah,
of
no,
them
they're
an
all
LED
they
table?
all have the layout there. Yeah, they all have the layout. They all have like a visual of chips that are placed on each bet based on where the player is and stuff. And it's like a laser show going on whenever the number's punched in, it's like a laser show. Like, let's say you have a bet on the 6 and then like somebody rolls a 6. It's like lasers shooting out of the plexiglass LED screen basically on the table, and like showing like boom, boom. And then on your screen, you see that the 6 was hit and like you see money coming back to you. But it's all electronic instead of actual like exchange of chips.
Right. And it's semi-social, right? It's not like a traditional table where you're all standing around, but you're all sitting around the roll to win, and you can see each other's heads. So it's sort of semi-social. I see more um groups of people standing around one kiosk, like a person shooting, and then they have their friends, and they're all just standing around. You can't get that at a traditional table. They'll tell your friends they got to be 3 feet from the stick or 3 feet from the table, because it gets confusing for the dealers. They think there's more players at the table than there really are. But with this, they allow, like, if you have a social setting of a group of friends and you're all standing around one kiosk, that's perfectly fine. They
Yeah.
usually have one dealer who's the dealer, the stick. He's all in one. They can be dicks sometimes. I will tell you that, especially when we went to Vegas. They were not kind. But I remember being at a traditional table and seeing you across the way at a roll to win, and I don't know if it was a get right game for you or if it was just trash. It's
No,
usually
it's a get
trash.
worse game for me. It's a
I
get
think
worse
probably
game for
because
me.
even though you're throwing with real dice, they have that line
Yeah.
towards, it's very close to the back wall, but it's not at the back wall. They have a line that will make sure that your dice are random.
Yeah, and like it stops you from sliding them and stuff. It's like a speed bump. But if you land the dice there, forget about it. I mean, there's zero control on any kind of that stuff. Um, I used to be more into it. So at Parks, when they first put the roll to win table in, which it's no longer there anymore, by the way. I don't think anyway. It was gone when I was there last time, which has been a long time, so it may be back. I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest, either. But tell me how you really feel. That's how I really feel. Um, when they first put it in, and you mentioned there's one dealer, right? And typically they were like slot machine attendants who had no clue what craps even was. So they were told like, make sure these people throw the dice, and that's that. And they're like, all right,
Yeah.
great. You rake them back, you punch the number in, and boom. So like they weren't really enforcing any rules or anything. And these tables were like 8 feet long, but when you're standing at, right at the center line, it's like 3.5, 4 feet to that back wall. And if you're me with my wingspan, right? Craig was talking about my wingspan in the last episode. I mean, I have over 3 foot of wingspan on this arm alone, right? My wingspan in totality is a little over 6 feet. So like I can get almost to the wall by just reaching. So when they did that, there was a couple of us who, used to take advantage, where we would basically just drop the dice delicately into the wall. And they found out, they caught on pretty quick, and then it was stopped that you can't cross the center line. But when I could do that, very minimum energy in the dice going into that back wall, which is ideal if you're trying to influence the dice. Minimum energy going into that back wall is what you want. So it was nice for that aspect. Ultimately now I'll play it just to kind of screw around, but like I'm not a fan necessarily of the roll to win tables. If you want to learn, they can be okay for that, but otherwise, you won't see me playing on a roll to win table unless we just want to screw around.
I don't like it for the simple fact that it's timed. You have so much time to actually make your bets, and I don't like to be
Yeah,
rushed making my bets. I don't.
that's a
I mean,
great
Stadium
point.
Craps is sort of not really timed. They're really waiting for the shooter. And sometimes that in stadium craps, and we'll get to that, the timer resets, which is nice. But no, roll to win tables, it's a certain amount of time you get to make that bet. And if you're unsure of what you're doing or what you want to bet, you're just to me, I'm sitting there half the rolls, not doing anything because I couldn't get my bet done in time. Now people
Yeah,
might say, well, make your fucking bet. Yeah, that's all well and good, but again, it's electronic. There's a lot of blah 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 happening, and it's not like Bubba Craps where you can take your time and then hit the button. I mean, Christ, the girl in Bubba Craps is telling you, push the button. You're like, I'm not ready yet. I'll push it when I'm ready. But roll to win. Even the dealer will get on you if for the shooter to let's go. You're like,
yeah.
it's like fuck this game. I don't like this game.
Yeah. Now, the similar game to that, which is Stadium Craps, um, I do like more. I still don't love it, but I like it more than Roll to Win. Um, and do you want to explain what Stadium Craps is, and then I'll
So
tell you why I
stadium
like it.
craps it's like traditional craps, except there's not people standing around. You actually have like a stadium, like a bowl. Think of a stadium bowl where you have the table in the middle is the field. You have the stick person, one stick person who's the stick and the dealer and all that stuff. And then you have kiosks that go around like a horseshoe style to the table. Now, they do offer other tables, a plethora of other tables at certain casinos where you can still play off of that person's roll who's 30 feet over there at the stadium crap station. But the station itself is an 8-foot table. You have to throw it the length of the table. They have to hit the wall, but you have kiosks where you can bet. And then each person will get an indication that it's time for them. If they want to shoot, they press their button on the stadium crap screen, and then their screen will then get mirrored onto the monitor that's in front of the table that they're going to throw actual dice from. So it just goes around like that in a circular fashion, just like traditional craps. But it's such a stadium style is so much fun when you have a group of like 8 or 10 people. It just is. It's just stadium craps. It's very social. Even with people you don't know, it's very social because they're all congratulating you, or everybody has. You're always rooting for the shooter. Um, it's convenience. There is like sort of a time limit on getting your bets in, and there may be a time limit for the person to shoot before the stick person tells you. But I'd have to say I like it probably the most out of the three, um, for the social aspect of it. Plus, I've learned how to
Yeah.
play stadium craps from my last Atlantic City visit or Vegas visit, and so now I'll be playing that way forever. Um,
Yeah, Stadium Craft's a lot of fun. I do like it a lot more than Roll to Win for that exact reason, the social aspect of it. Now, don't confuse me by saying I like it a lot, saying that I like it more than regular craps. I do not. Again, I bet differently when I'm playing on Stadium Craps, Roll to Win, and that kind of stuff. When I'm playing Stadium Craps, I'm more or less having fun, and like I truly do not care about the money that goes into that machine more often than not. It's like I'm just there to have a good time and have fun. And like you said, right? It's great with a large group of people because like then you can run around high five people and it's like, you're in an actual game. And I do like that aspect more. The other aspect I like is you're not throwing on the plexiglass, you're throwing on usually felt. It's a shorter table, which is nice, and it mirrored my shooting station, which is why I liked it. The one thing I didn't like about it was a lot of them have a plexiglass barrier in there that like limits your arm going forward. And when you have big arms like me, it's tough to actually throw the dice. Like I've hit that thing, I don't know how many times, but it's a lot of fun to play it. But again, for me, it's fun. It's not really like I'm really trying to go win. Do I want to win? Of course, but like I'm really just sitting there to have fun.
Not all, or I would say all casinos do have stadium craps. Like my local doesn't have stadium craps. Christ, my local doesn't even have bubble craps. But I actually like stadium craps as an alternative if the tables are full, as
Hmm.
like a temporary session.
Yeah.
before jumping onto a real table. I do like that aspect of it, and the minimums, they can be anywhere from $5 to $15 minimums at stadium craps. But definitely, I love the atmosphere of stadium craps. That's really fun when you have a lot of your friends with you, and you're all standing around, sitting across from each other, and you can see each other. You can talk across the table. I'll tell you the one thing I don't like about stadium craps is, you were just saying it, the plexiglass. Maryland Live has the plexiglass right here. You
Mm-hmm.
literally have to pick up the dice and throw them over top of the plexiglass in front of you. This goes along with what Chris and I said when we said they're fucking with your play. Why are they fucking with your play? It's hard enough to play stadium craps as it is, whether you're on the digital screen or you're throwing the dice, because it's only an 8-foot table. How many times have people practiced at home? They've practiced from SL1, SL2, SL3, end of table, and you get the stadium craps, and you're like, holy shit, this is like micro machines where it's only an 8-foot, 6 to 8 foot table, and you're like, what I would do at a regular table is not going to work. You're going to have
Yep.
to find out something different, or find a different throw or a different grip or something. Plus, they're going to get, if you don't reach that wall or you don't hit the wall, they're going to bitch at you just like a traditional. But I don't know. That plexiglass at Maryland Live, I can't believe they allow that shit to happen. As if it's not difficult enough to play this fucking game.
Yeah.
But
No,
we
it's
keep coming
true. I
back.
mean, the
We keep coming
plexiglass,
back, Chris.
we do. The plexiglass is annoying, which is one reason why I don't like playing that. But again, I'm playing for fun, and it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, no casinos around me have it. Like the only casino that had it was the Harris in Chester, and they got rid of it. So like I don't even know a casino around me that has it. I don't know of one even in Atlantic City, to be honest with you. I know a couple places had them and they got rid of them also. Um, so I don't know of any of them, but I know they're in Vegas. Like Planet Hollywood's just so fun to me in Vegas. Like if you want to go play stadium craps, like Planet Hollywood is the place to do it. It's just so fun there. But
I do like that because it's a smaller setting of stadium craps. Um, the
mhm.
one at I think, is it Paris? Paris has that stadium craps, and then they have 20 to 30 kiosks all over because they have the automated stuff for blackjack, craps, roulette,
Mhm.
and all that stuff. But it's right next to the stadium craps. But I think Planet Hollywood has that smaller setting where it's really only like 8 stations max.
Yeah,
It's like
it's
it's
like
like
an
four and
intimate
it's like four and
experience.
four, but it's right next
Yeah,
to a traditional table. And sometimes people look up from the stadium craps and are like, "Hey, there's a couple spots open. Let's go to the regular table." So to
yep,
me, stadium craps is a temporary session to get on a real
yeah.
table.
So you know what my temporary session is from the craps table? It's going to the
Blackjack.
evil bubble machines. Oh, no, Blackjack is just I go there to play. If
All
I'm
right,
if
so
I'm
get right
like
game. Sorry.
Yeah, that's my get right game. If I was smart, it would just be my game that I would play. But, when I'm trying to get a temporary break from the craps table, or like I'm waiting to get on a craps table or something, I'll sit and dabble on the bubble machines, which there's a couple different varieties of bubble craps, right? They have them craps, traditional craps, and crapless. They have the individual machines where you have your kiosk and your little popper in front of you that you're playing, and like you control when the dice pop and all that kind of stuff. Or they have the larger games where there's a massive bubble in front of you, and like you have a timer and you play, and a bunch of people can play along with you. um Now I won't say that I love bubble craps because I really don't, but I think it's fun to mess around with. Again, all these games I'm playing for fun more than anything. You will see me go like do challenges on bubble craps because it's easy and I find them fun to do. And I'll record playing bubble craps and stuff like that. But if I had to pick out of the three to like seriously play, it would be bubble craps. If I'm trying to have fun, it's going to be stadium craps. Bubble craps is a good time. Usually, $5 minimum action, which is different than a $5 minimum
Yeah.
because you just need $5 in total on the table to play, as opposed to each bet having to be $5. But it's a fun little game to play. You pop the button, you watch the dice. People think they're rigged. They run on random number generators. All right. So you could think it's as rigged as you want. It's not. It's a random number generator. Deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you just mentioned it. Um, Bubble Craps it's really it's a solo performance, right?
Yep.
It's just you. Granted, you have the one that has the big bubble with the red dice, and that's typically one where it kind of works like roll to win, where it's a timer on the screen, and you're actually going off somebody else hitting the button for the dice when it's their turn to hit the button. But the ones with just the smaller white dice, where even though it might be a three person station, a lot of them, those are the ones where you have your individual bubbles. They may have three stations, but each station has its own little bubble of white dice,
Yeah.
and they're smaller. They're like maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches in area or cubic, whatever. And those I like.
Mathlete.
What's that?
The mathlete.
The
You're
mathlete.
gonna get into measurements and you
I
get volume and
I was just
all
trying to
this
give. I was
bullshit.
just trying to give a visual, Chris.
I
I was
know.
just
I'm
trying to give
messing
a
with you.
visual. But the point, my point is that one's more. It's quiet. It's really on
Yeah.
your terms. When do you want to hit it? When don't you want to hit it? You can hit the button and hit it immediately, or you can hit the button and just wait for it to stop popping. The
Yeah.
worst is when the dice stop and then there's one last pop, and if you had a leaner, it goes the wrong way for you every time, right? Um,
Every time.
but I will start playing bubble craps and stadium craps the same way. That the way I learned discipline back in September. I'm gonna play that way going forward. But I really, I know I've been on shows where I've actually said I don't like bubble craps, and now I have to eat my words because I
Yeah. It's
do like
okay.
it as an alternative if I can't get on a table. I'd much rather
Yeah.
be on a table, but if I can't get on a table, yes, I will play the bubble craps. Um, you can actually play a while with $100.
Oh yeah.
Um, Again, 5 action. Well, I will say, even though it's 5 minimum action, a lot of times they won't let you play the box numbers for anything less than $5. Like sometimes you can play it for 3 if it's 3 minimum action, but if it's 5 minimum action, they make you play $5 boxes, but you can do dollars on the hops and horn and hard ways, but it just has to equal $5. Um, so, there are various rules. Obviously, it's craps. If every table game is built different and has different rules depending on the crew, you you goddamn well know that every bubble craps machine is built different.
Yeah.
There's my rant
Yeah.
on bubble craps.
There we go. I think it might be time for our actual rant though, Craig. What do you think?
It might be because we have so much more to say about these 3 digital games, and we're going to get into it, I think, in another episode because I got enough material to go a whole entire episode. So I think it might be right to get right to the what the fuck, Chris?
What the fuck?
Warning.
The thoughts and comments in the next segment may trigger you. If you are triggered, seek help from someone who cares.
All right, Craig. Time for one of our favorite segments of the entire podcast. The what the fuck segment. So our what the fuck segment today is sports betting related.
I like that.
Because Craig and I have been dealing with some faux pas, let's say, that have been going on in some of these sports betting worlds. And no, we're not talking about all the people getting arrested right now, which side note is hilarious. That they thought they wouldn't get caught. Like, are you that naive that you didn't think that you would get caught?
If you go down and you dribble like this and you just like and you have no player over there that's on your team, just the 2 players from another team, yeah, you're throwing the game, buddy.
Yeah. Or the guys tipping pitches in baseball. Like, I mean, come on. Like, we all know, everybody knows. And like, we're sitting here, right? And even like umpires and stuff. Now, I get they're human, they make mistakes. Listen, I was an umpire back in the day. All right. It's not an easy job. However, some of these things are so egregious. It's like, I mean, you have to have money on the game, right? But we're not talking about those who are getting arrested because they're going to get what's coming to them. But game management, man. Oh, let me tell you. All right. Craig and I, this topic started because, we're big into the football betting and stuff like that. And as I always say, okay, you got to bet smart with your units and all that kind of stuff. But DGen loves to play some of these ridiculous bets, like some of these hooker magoo parlays, I call them, that are, multi-leg, crazy payouts for minimum investment, right? And again, I don't advocate playing this way. However, I have much larger bets that are covering these bets for me. But Craig, there's nothing worse than when you have one of these bets. Let's say it's a 10 leg, right? And you got 9 out of the 10 legs. And the last leg is something that should be so simple to hit. Like it was one of your most confident plays on the entire ticket. And then the game manager takes over and you don't have a snowball's chance in hell.
No, it's the thing ruining the heavy parlay that makes a nice payout. And look, we're talking about he's talking about the unit betting, which we went into when we interviewed Chris about his sports betting. It's not a lot of money on the bet; it's what it pays that makes it fun.
Yeah.
And heavy parlays are fun if you know how to piece them together. But here's the thing, you're basing it on information that you have gathered and have seen and have studied over time. And if you have, like, let's say a running back who has been scoring like crazy in the last 4 games, and you're like, no brainer. We know he's going to score at least one. We'll be safe with the risk. We'll say he'll just score one and that'll be good enough. And then you get the fucking resting starters. You get somebody who takes the team all the way down to the fucking 5-yard line and then puts in a fullback instead of the running back, or puts in another running back who's heavier and can take more bruising for that 1-yard touchdown. And it pisses me off. Prime example, Washington Commanders. They use Rodriguez, which is the backup running back, all the time because he's a bigger setback, and they use him for goal line stands. And
Yep.
and then when you try to, you go to your sports betting and you're like, let me try to grab Rodriguez because I'm pretty sure they're going to use him at the goal line, and like this drive just started, and then all of a sudden you see bet suspended. They won't let you do it. They know he's going to score, and you're going to lose your money, and they're all happy to suspend the bet. But I think one of the most egregious things is you have to be careful on blowouts, because one of the biggest thing about blowouts is not so much resting starters, but it's running out the clock instead of actually playing the way that they've been playing for 3 quarters. If they're all pass happy for 3 quarters and they're up by 28-7, they're going to fucking just run the clock out in 4th quarter. Fuck the passes. And you're like, all I needed was one more reception for this wide receiver who's been nailing it all day with 171 yards. But I didn't bet
only 3
I
catches.
didn't bet the yardage. I bet the receptions.
Yeah. Oh yeah. With that, and then you know what also gets me too is like when you're doing that, and then like especially in the 4th quarter, right? Let's say you're 1 reception away or whatever, and quarterback's reading, he's looking, he's going, he's back to pass, bang, hits your receiver, and you're like, I cashed, but wait, there's some laundry on the field, there's a flag, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. And then all of a sudden, plays taken back, and that dude doesn't get a target the rest of the game. See, this is one of my biggest problems with this one, right? Where like, and it's not even in a blowout. It's just in football in general, right? You're sitting there, and the quarterback is just, it's his favorite receiver, right? In the first half, he's got 6 targets, 4 catches, and you got him over 5 or 6 catches. That's easy money. He only needs 2 catches. Doesn't see a target in the second half. Doesn't see a single target in the second half. It's like, did Vegas make a phone call here that your favorite receiver, who you look at nonstop, we're not going to throw to him? Nah.
But you have those
I'm sitting
bets,
there and I'm like,
but you have those bets where the sports betting won't allow you to pick anything below like 4 catches. So you need that 4th catch. And what happens? The ball comes, hits the person right in the fucking chest, and what do? They drop it because they're trying to run instead of catching the ball first and then running. They're trying to turn around and they go, and you're
fumble
like,
fingers.
motherfucker.
Yeah. No, it's tough with the game management situations, and like just the analytics coming into play. Like, this is one of my biggest ones, the analytics, right? Where now anything like within 70 yards is a field goal. Okay,
Right.
great. I got the kicker over kicking points. They're going for it on 4th and 6 from the 50. Like, and then you see them dial up the most ridiculous play I've ever seen in my life, going for 60 yards from the 50-yard line. Like, dude, you need 6 yards. Why are you going for 40? You need 6, and just bring your damn kicker out. Like, it gets me so frustrated because like some of these kickers, right? And for folks at home who don't know, some of these kicker bets are so soft, it's unbelievable. If you actually take the time to look and see like, where like how many kicking points they need or things like that. And then all of a sudden you get fucked because they easy chip shot field goal. But no, the coach has got something up his ass and he's going for it on 4th and 5 when they should just kick the field goal and take the points. That gets me so aggravated. My blood is boiling right now, even talking about it.
Routes ruin spreads all the time.
They
Because
do.
why? Because
Yep.
the team that is ahead decides to play prevent defense and allows the team to
Oh.
score once or twice because they're up 4 to 5 touchdowns. You're like, son of a bitch. But here's the
Yep.
other thing, and I correct me if I'm wrong, because this is how I read what you told me the other day, was over this weekend, Detroit, maybe your research told you, you study the game so much, you studied coordinators and you kind of know
Yeah.
what somebody's going to do. And Dan Campbell took over the offensive play calls, and you were telling me that just totally, you knew you weren't going to win that parlay.
Yeah, no, exactly that. So again, for anybody who doesn't know, we're talking about the games that happened on like November 9th,
Right.
or whatever,
Week
Sunday.
10.
But
Week
yeah,
10, yeah.
Week 10 football. Dan Campbell took over the play calling randomly, and Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't have a single target in the second half. Meanwhile, Jamison Williams had like 50. I'm sitting here and I'm like, dude, like, I get you want to get somebody else involved, right? Your number one receiver was open, okay? It's a different story if he's not open. He was open. And they're just they're only looking at one guy. And it's a thing in my head makes me think, you got money on this dude that you need him to start getting catches or what? Like, it gets me frustrated because I do put a lot of time into this, especially with the fantasy aspect, the daily fantasy, things like that, where I'm looking at the defenses, right? I'm looking at the schemes the defenses run. They're in man coverage more often than not. Are they in zone coverage? And some of these receivers just destroy a zone. They really do. They know exactly what to do. The quarterbacks know how to pick apart a zone. Like Tom Brady, you couldn't run a zone against Tom Brady. Why? He would just nickel and dime you to death. I mean, he 5-6 yard passes right down the field, boom, touchdown every single time, right? You couldn't run a zone against him. And man, good luck too, because Gronkowski's just going to run at you and he's going to throw the ball and he's bigger than you. He's going to catch it. But that's beside the point. All right. But like, it's just so frustrating when an easy scheme of what should be done doesn't get done, right? A team that runs a ton of zone defense, you got a quarterback who's good and wide receivers who can destroy a zone, and you decide, you know what? We're going to run the ball today. Today's the day we're going to run the ball. Let's get that running game going. It's your running game. I don't want to see that shit. I want to see the receivers catching 5-yard slants. That's what I want to see.
I think you and I talked about week 9 on that Seattle-Arizona game, where even if I had picked the number 1 and the number 2 receiver on Seattle, I still would have lost the parlay. Why? Because the first 2 people to score was a rookie and a guy who caught his first pass ever in the NFL for a touchdown.
Yeah.
You've got to
Exactly.
be fucking kidding me, because they threw like 5 touchdowns in the game and none of the wide receivers I'd picked got one.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing too. Like when you in the red zone, let's say, right? You got an obvious passing situation. You got a wide receiver who's 6'5" with a cornerback covering who's 6 foot, physical receiver. Throw the ball up to him, let him catch it, right? No, we're going to throw the ball to the 5'10" receiver who's covered by a 6'4" cornerback who's draped all over him. No, just let the big guy post him up. You could run it 3 straight times. He's going to catch it 1 of the 3 times. But no, we're gonna run it to the 3rd string tight end out of, I don't know, some elementary school that, he's gonna go catch the ball. I'm like, this guy wasn't even available to bet. That's how like ludicrous him scoring a touchdown, the thought of it even is. Like he wasn't even on the sports book. You couldn't bet it. Why? Because nobody thought he was gonna score.
Nothing ruins messing with player parlays than fourth quarter game management. It's a fact.
Nope.
Try to
It's a
dispute it.
fact.
I don't think you can.
And they got to quit fucking doing it.
Yeah, quit fucking doing it. What the fuck? Top 5 time. This
All right.
I'm gonna preface this by saying for me, maybe not Chris, but for me, this is not one of my best top 5s.
This was a tough one. This was a tough one. Top 5 list. We did a heavy craps related show today, right? Where we talked about regression. We talked about the electronic games a little bit. So, Craig, our top 5 list today is the top 5 reasons you should keep playing craps.
We know plenty. We know hundreds of reasons why we shouldn't keep playing craps.
Yeah. The top 5 reasons you should keep playing craps. Craig, what's number 5?
All right. Number 5 for me is you're part of the session. You're the shooter. Sometimes you're part of the a craps crew, and you're definitely part of the crowd. So every roll can be something great. Every roll can be something where you all agree, whether it was a bad turnout, you're all together, or you're all high-fiving together. It's just it's being part of the crowd. You just don't get it at any other table game. You can say that you get it at Blackjack and you'd be lying. No hooting and there's hooting and hollering at other table games, but there ain't hooting and hollering like there is at a craps table.
Nope. That's a fact. All right. Number 5 for me. This one was tough. I honestly, I going on the top 4 list. So number 5 is just like let's throw this in here because I need 5. Which is funny, but my number 5 is the thrill of getting a new strategy and making it work. Nothing better than when you see something new and you're like, "Ooh, I got to try this," and it works out. Or if you want to keep learning about the game, that's why you should keep playing, so you can keep learning about the game. That's number 5 for me.
So that I did movie theme strategies, and one of the ones I did was a Superman on the movie Superman. And it basically was you start with, I'm trying to remember, I think you start with 440 inside, and one hit, you press it to 780, and then you do a regression. One person actually commented on the video that they actually did that at the casino and won. And I was like,
Nice.
I ain't never going to try it. But the fact that somebody said, you know what, it's something new, I'm going to try that. And then he did it and he told me he won. I was like, all right, good for you, man.
There you go. All right, Craig, what's number 4?
All right, number 4 is the reason I will keep playing this game is because it is teaching me discipline, and not just the gaming, but it's teaching me discipline in life too. Um, discipline as far as the game is concerned. I've learned so much about it's okay to play small. It's okay to play past line with odds, but just be disciplined about it. And you can really build a really good toolkit if you can learn discipline. It'll really be one of your friends. If you have no friends, discipline will be your friend at the craps table if you just believe in it.
There you go. I like that one. That was like a sentimental number 4. That was great. I like that one.
FullofChips
All right,
podcast.
number 4 for me is the thrill of the long roll and the hot shooter. Everybody's always talking about it. Everybody wants to be on it. So if you want to be on it, you got to keep playing, because if you're not playing, you cannot experience it. And just what a great story that would be, huh? Being on just the hot shooter. If you were on that 107 roller, like the stories you could tell about that.
Oh my God.
So if you're looking for that lurking long roll, you got to keep playing.
I'd have to say the 107 roller now would be really beneficial to me. The 107 roller in my first year of playing, I guarantee you I would have made $700.
Yeah. Now I'd make, a lot of money, but yeah.
Right.
And the shooter would have made a lot of money because they would have got tipped by
like crazy.
But that's beside the point.
If that was a crap, if that was craps crew, AC craps crew all around that table when that happened, you'd be for damn sure that we'd probably all tip 1,000 to 10,000 per. It would have made the person another $100,000. And it was like, that's fine because we all made $200,000.
Literally, would have bought a house with my money, and I would have bought the guy a car with his money. Like that's what we're talking on that kind of roll. And people are like, "Oh, you wouldn't have made that much money." Let me tell you, all right. I heard the recap of that roll. Yes, 5 figures minimum would be pulled off that table by me alone. The AC crew itself would have pulled probably 2+ million off that table, but it's beside the point.
But you
Craig,
know
number
alone
3.
that we've talked about it, because you know alone that when we're up, we would play stupid. We would have been up so much at some point that we would have started doing stupid bets like going max. And
Oh,
then
I
you're
would
like,
have been
oh my
like,
God, the max is hitting. You're like, oh, I
yeah.
gotta keep playing like this,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I mean, like when I heard the recap of that roll specifically too, like, I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, and like, even if I was betting conservatively, all right, we had half the rolls one time. And I was down so bad that I wouldn't go to max, but I was close to max in half the amount of rolls of that. So you best believe if we're going double the time, I would have been at max probably halfway through, if not a little bit past halfway. You add in the bonus bets that were hit in that aspect of things. I mean, because you know me on bonus bets. Somebody hits a bonus bet, I go back up there pressed up on my bonus bets. And if you hit them multiple times, I mean, shit, I would have had black chips across.
Oh yeah. You know, we won't really go into like the person who did that is now part of our crew, you know, but we could easily have a what the fuck segment about how he was treated by the other shooters as far as tips. But it was already
It's
covered on another
ludicrous.
podcast, and we don't want to infringe on that.
Yep.
But seriously, and I feel for the guy who did shoot, because I've been there at a 49 roller and only made $300 because I was concentrating on shooting and not betting. And that comes with experience and time.
Mm-hmm. All right, Craig, number 3.
All right, number 3. And this is, you know, sometimes you're there to win, sometimes you're there to socialize. The fact that it's a social spectacle, and we talked a little bit about that earlier in the top 5 list. The table just has a vibe, and when there's good energy, it's electric. Not boogaloo electric boogaloo, but
I
it's
was just singing
electric.
that in my head.
I, I heard it as soon as I said it. But you know, it's that shared suspense of once the dice settle. And if you parlayed a bet, if you know, got up to 180 or 210 on a 6/8, and you know, it's spinning and then it drops and it's like it's a 156, and you're like, you know, everybody's screaming and you're high-fiving fucking strangers. You know, you're trying to hug the stick person, and they're like, get the fuck away from me, I got the stick, you know. Yeah,
Oh,
so it's a
man.
social spectacle.
Yep. All right. Well, never fails to happen on this podcast. Number 3 is craps is so social and team oriented. That basically my number 3 is exactly what Craig said, right? You're playing with the crew, you got camaraderie in a group that you're playing with. It's just so much fun and high energy when it's going well. Obviously when it's going bad, it's not that high energy, but when it's going well, it's so high energy, it's so fun. And the social aspect of it this is really the only game that you have that social aspect. Yes, there's some interaction playing like Blackjack and other games, but like you sit down on a Bach table, shit, that thing is so quiet. I mean, you feel like in your library sometimes.
No, it's like all the other games are just bubble craps by itself. There's nobody
Yep.
to tell you that you won at bubble craps other than yourself.
Yourself,
You know,
exactly.
you can tell
All
the
right, Craig,
drink
number
lady,
2.
I guess.
Because she cares.
Well, she, you know,
It's like stripper, you know. You think they care. They don't. They want your money.
they don't care.
Anyway, they
All
don't
right.
care. They don't
What's your
love
number?
you. I
What's your number?
promise.
That was your number 3, right?
Yeah, you're on number 2.
All right, number 2. Multiple betting options. This game, we just said the line, I think either earlier in this episode or we said it in the last episode. There are so many ways to play this game and so many ways to bet in this game to win, whether it's a come out roll, whether you're just playing a field parlay, whether you're doing a hard way parlay or you're playing the horn, or even if you're hopping bets or you're playing the fire bet or the bonus bet. There's just so many ways to play this game, and it just lets you flex your, you know, your strategic muscles and experiment with different styles. There is no one way to play this game. There isn't.
Yep, that's true. All right, my number 2 is it's fast paced and engaging. Something's always happening, right? You hope it's fast paced anyway, but most of the time it's fast paced. Something's always happening at the table. Every roll, your bets hinge on every single roll. There's always something going on at the table, whether it's good or bad. Hopefully it's good. And we have a grand old time playing the game we love. I can only imagine what your number one is, Craig, by the way you're reacting.
Number one, fast-paced and engaging. Oh my God. The reason I chose this
We
is
don't talk about this.
the reason the reason I chose this is because I have fast-paced decision making, which keeps your mind sharp and engaged. And the reason I chose this is because it does to play this game and to play it really well. It takes that edge of knowing what you want, knowing what you're doing, having the discipline, knowing how to get your money out of it and press, and just going for it. Sometimes just going for it is like the last thing you have left to do, but still it's this, you got to make fast decisions. And I equate it to, well, I don't really equate it. It's sort of, let me explain. I do the Sunday crossword every Sunday. And the reason I do it is because here's another math thing. It increases your vocabulary by 26%.
God, athlete over here. I'm
I'm
not
sorry.
an athlete. I'm not an athlete. Whips out his calculator.
I'm
26%.
a closet mathlete. But yeah, no, it's I like the fast pace, the fact that you have to make a decision quick. You can't be hesitant, but it takes practice to do that. You don't just come. There are plenty of people who just flop down money. That's not really practiced. That's just, they fucking have money to burn and they don't mind just dumping it anywhere. They might dump it in the field. They might dump it on the horn. They might just, dump it on the pass line for a dumb reason, and just either they win or they don't. But it's that fast decision making. I've seen some older folks on the table, and it can be slow. A lot of times they're asked what they want to do with their next bet. They don't speak up very loud, but I guarantee you this, they're fucking putting max odds, or they're putting hellacious amount of odds in the back of that pass line. And you're the idiot, meaning me, to the right of them, who's got FOMO, not really doing what they're supposed to be doing. And here he's winning, 1,200 on the odds. You're like, here's
Yep.
my $20 behind my pass line, and he's making 1,200.
Yep, it's true. All right, my number one, the number one reason why I should keep playing craps, other than all the other reasons we said, I'm going to go the math way too on this one. It's the best odds in the entire casino. So that is why you should play it, because the odds are more in your favor than playing other games, other things. It's got some of the best odds in the casino. We've talked about it in other podcasts and stuff. So you should keep playing because it's got good odds. And if you don't keep playing, then they're going to take away tables, and we don't want to see that. So,
I will
great
say
top
this.
five list.
Let me follow up yours, because, and just put this out there to the folks. It's got the best odds on the bets, whereas Blackjack has the best odds on the way you play.
Key point.
There you go.
Key point. Yes. No, very true.
All right,
But,
actually,
great
better top five
list.
than I thought.
100%. I think that was actually a really good top five. But yeah, no, great top five. We love that segment. And into our next segment, Craig, tip of the episode. What is our tip of the episode?
Our tip of the episode is something that everybody needs to learn. It takes time, and you have to learn to not be depressed after playing. And that's called let go of your losses. Whatever happens in that session happened. You can't change it. You can't go back and get your money back. There are no refunds. You just have to turn your head, move on to the next session, move on to that next envelope. Don't be reaching into other envelopes during that one session that didn't go right. Just accept the fact that it didn't go right, that you made poor decisions, or the rolls just didn't go your way. But let go of your losses. It's not worth
100%.
it's not worth keeping them tallied anywhere where all you do is you're looking at losses.
You gotta have short-term memory on the losses, right?
Yeah,
you do have
definitely.
to learn from them, right? You do have to learn from your losses. Understand what happened, what went wrong, why you lost, but you can't dwell on the fact that you did lose, right?
That's what I mean.
Because
Yeah.
if you're gonna gamble, you're gonna lose. All right. Just accept that now, or don't gamble at all, honestly. And like, it might sound crazy, but you're going to lose. So you have to be able to not focus on those losses, learn from them, and then move on with it. Don't be sitting there like, I lost. Woe is me. It sucks. All right. But if you're going to do this a lot, you're going to lose a lot. hopefully you win more than you lose, but you're still going to lose. So let go of them.
I think what the final thing we could say on this episode is that don't dwell on them, because what you're doing is you're now bringing negative energy to the next
Yep.
session, or you're bringing negative energy
100%.
to the person you're telling it the story about, because you have a woe is me moment. Like, it sucks. Losing sucks. It will always suck. It sucks in every sport. There's never been anybody who lost who was fucking thrilled about losing. Unless you had a bet on it.
Yeah, you bet
don't
on
be
yourself. You bet the under on yourself.
That's right. Don't be a Pete Rose.
Asshole at Cleveland Indians or Guardians, excuse me. They're not the Indians anymore. The Guardians.
Oh man, this
no,
episode was fun. This had everything. The reason I say everything is because we had this much talk about Blackjack for now.
Yeah.
But we talked about Blackjack. We talked about craps. We talked about digital games. We talked about regression. We talked about reasons you should stay with it. Stay with it, folks. It's going to get better. And also, we gave a little bit of tip of don't dwell on it.
Yep.
And we had
great
sports
episode.
talking. I love it.
Oh yeah, we had a little bit of everything. It was great. Great episode 18. We hope you all enjoyed it at home. Again, if you're looking for us, email fullofchipspodcast@gmail.com. You can join the Patreon. It's down below. It's free. And then you can find us obviously on all of my usual spiel. Deep breath. Here we go. YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon, Apple, and Facebook. Dang. Episode 18 is a wrap. We hope you guys enjoyed episode 18. Don't forget, don't dwell on your losses, because it's going to limit your ability to stay full of chips.